One day, out the blue, Titus just showed up at his high school football coach's crib. So the coach got him some food and attempted to have a conversation with him. Because Titus was sitting up there talking about how he was going to ball out this year for the Rams. And his coach was like, bro, the Rams cut you, son. You don't play in the NFL no more. Titus didn't remember. Yo, Titus Young is one of those really sad cases. It's one of those where I'll get that comment, oh, what a waste of talent. I hate that comment. Because in my mind, I know it's coming from a person who probably didn't even realize their own talent in one area or another, but still sitting back and judging this man. I hate that. Yo, every year, 42.5 million adults in the U.S. are diagnosed with mental disorder. That's about 18% of the adult population. Now we like to pretend it doesn't exist. Just because you can run routes good, run a 4.4, jump high and catch the ball, doesn't make you exempt. Yo, don't forget to subscribe if you're brand new here. Also, click the thumbs up button and buckle in, because this is a little bit of a sad one. This is the story of Titus Young. Alright, so Titus grew up in LA. As a kid, he was smart, cocky, charming. He could also be rude, dismissive, uncontrollable. He would get into trouble pretty often and get sent to the principal's office. Basically put, he was a badass kid. We all knew him growing up. Some of us even got badass kids of our own, like myself. My guy's not bad though, he's just active. Anyway, once he got to high school, Titus would get some much needed discipline from his high school football coaches, Coach E.C. Robinson and Coach FlemLo. Coach Robinson was actually a former probation officer, and yeah, that's hella ironic. Coach Robinson was one of them coaches that didn't play no games. Like, you just knew not to cross him, man. Yo, if you're a high school football coach or like a male figure in a school, elementary, middle school, or high school, bro, keep doing what you do, because y'all keep a lot of us in line. It's a whole lot of times I might have flipped out if my big swole coach wasn't standing right there. Just want to stop and give a shout out to you guys, man. Thanks for what y'all do. So in high school, Titus was the cocky speed receiver that we know him as, but he also was a beastly safety, and this dude was a headhunter, bro. I mean, he was coming down smacking dude. His high school coach actually stated that in one particular game, he was just constantly helmet to helmet hitting cats, and this is before this was really a penalty. And his coach believes that on that day, maybe Titus did some damage that might have affected him later, and he could be right, but of course, I don't know. It's my opinion though, that Titus probably already had some type of personality disorder or something like that underlying, and it just got worse over time because it went untreated into adulthood. Anyway, we'll get to it. Let's go. So Titus got a scholarship to Boise State, and as a freshman, he caught 44 passes for 639 yards. True freshman put up 5 touchdowns, but was already getting in trouble, starting to miss workouts and arguing with his coach. At one point, the coaches at Boise called his high school coach, Coach Robinson, and was like, yo, how do you deal with this man? During his sophomore season, Titus got suspended by the team, but it wouldn't be the last time he was in trouble. But when he did play, he was a beast. His final 2 years at Boise, he went over 1,000 yards both seasons, over 70 catches both seasons, double-digit touchdowns both seasons, son. So when he declared for the draft, he was probably a first-round talent, but his attitude was so bad, he got kicked out one of the pre-draft facilities. Despite all those issues, he was still drafted in the second round by the Detroit Lions. Playing opposite Calvin Johnson as a rookie, Titus caught 48 passes for 607 yards and 6 TDs. Titus was always brash and loud and cocky. Was arrogant, you know what I'm saying? He oozed confidence in himself, like a lot of great receivers do. But this year in the NFL, like, he kind of isolated himself. Like, he became like real quiet around his teammates. It was odd, you know? In private, he would complain to Matt Stafford about not getting more passes. And that's common. Like, most good receivers feel that way. They want the ball more. But former Detroit Lion and current NFL Network TV host Nate Burleson said that at one point Titus said he wanted to be the #1 receiver. And I'm like, bruh, like, you don't see that big 6'5", 240 pound, 4.35 running dude over there? Yeah, going by the name Megatron. Like, as long as he breathes, he's the #1 receiver. That's just how that goes. And that's not a shot, man. Titus was a beast, but come on, Megatron, bro. It's understandable to an extent to want the ball more. Like, I don't know a receiver that don't want the ball more. Not a good one. But when you say you want to be the #1 receiver, are you saying, yo, I want to be traded? Or are you saying, yo, I'm better than Megatron? It's like, I don't know. But after the season, Titus's behavior would get stranger and stranger and stranger, to the point where his inner circle actually asked the NFL if he could get some type of counseling. Because again, he was always a bit of a troublemaker, but his personality was shifting. It was so weird to them, you know what I'm saying? So the league did oblige, and they offered Titus therapy. But it's just an offer, you can't mandate it. And of course, Titus refused. Alright, cool. So 2012, a year after Titus was drafted, off-season workouts, gets into an argument with the teammate. That's pretty common. What's not common is that his teammate turns away, Titus sticks him, snuck him, sucker punch his teammate. And I'll be honest, that's weak, bro. That's real weak. And that is when Titus was banned from this facility altogether. After that, Titus seemed to kind of get things together a bit, man. He was seeming a lot more normal to his family and people that was around him. He actually went back to his high school and was working out with the kids there. Matter of fact, something cool he would do, he would race the kids for the cleats that he had. Like, right here, come, he show up every day in some fresh cleats, and if anybody could beat him in a race, they could get the cleats. Now, of course, nobody ever beat him in a race, but this was before he severed his ties with Adidas, and he was still sponsored by them, so he was actually able to get cleats for all the kids. So that's real cool. And it brings me to the point where it's like, yo, people are complex, man. Everything not so black and white. Nobody's all good, nobody's all bad. It's just, where does that balance fall? You know what I'm saying? Because I'll guarantee you that time he spent with them kids changed at least one of their lives. I'll guarantee you, bro, it inspired at least one of those dudes to be like, man, you know what? I can get out of here and go and do something like what he did, what he's doing, playing in the NFL. But then the next season with the Lions, things really start to go haywire. In a game versus the Packers, bro, Titus would line up in the wrong place on purpose and run the wrong route on purpose. He was basically just begging for either some attention, some help, or just to be released. He actually only got one of the three, which was attention, didn't get released, didn't get any help, but they put him on a bench and was probably trying to work out a trade for him behind the scenes and dump him off on somebody. But due to his issues, other teams, they ain't want to mess with that. So later in that season, Titus tweeted out, "I've never been selfish, but if I'm not going to get the football, I don't want to play anymore." Literally the most contradictory statement ever. So after that, he got released. And the Rams picked him up off waivers, but when they brought him in for the meeting, he was like in the meeting just barely paying attention. He was a bit spaced out, like couldn't stay focused. The meeting didn't go well. Then when the representative from the Rams took him back to the airport so he can go back home, he didn't have his driver's license, right? So he couldn't get on the plane. They had to, get that sorted out. This dude flips out, goes off for a big scene in the airport. It's bad. It's like at this point he had no regard for anything. Like he just couldn't control himself. So of course the Rams, who like I said had claimed him off waivers, shortly after that they released him. So after that, Brandon Marshall, right? A player who early in his career had a lot of similar issues that Titus has, man. Was seen in the same light, plays the same position, and is probably one of the very few people on the planet who could directly relate to what Titus was dealing with. Being a professional football player, our receiver at that, being seen in a certain light and dealing with some type of mental disorder, okay? He hit Titus up. Now, most of y'all should know Brandon Marshall very publicly had some type of personality disorder, but he got treatment for it, and he came back out a better, stronger man, you feel me? He reaches out to Titus and, basically try to relate to him real quick and let him know, yo, you ain't the only person that's had to deal with this, bro. I can help you out, man. Basically refers him to the institute that he went into, but of course, Titus refused. So later down the line, Titus's dad actually was able to get him into a meeting with a representative who kind of explained the plan to him and, yo, we're going to get you admitted and, just get everything back to normal, bro, so that you can resume your career and continue to do what you love. Titus got mad, stormed out. And scenes like that happened numerous times, bro. But finally, they got him into a facility. And I don't know if the facility was whatever they was doing was actually going to help eventually, or if they could help, or maybe it was nothing they can do. Because one person close to Titus that went to see him in the facility described the scene like this. He was in the bed, surrounded by his parents and his sister. He was dripping with sweat, had on sunglasses because his eyes was super sensitive to the light. Then they told me he had been sedated, and something happened that changed him. And it changed him overnight. I ain't gonna lie, that sounds like something out of a horror movie, bro. Eventually, man, Titus left there without really getting his issues resolved. It may have just made it worse, I don't know. And in 2013, he just went on a string of arrests. Like, here, okay, May 4th, 2013, he got arrested for stealing cigars, water, and candy. The very next day, bro, he got arrested for making an illegal U-turn into traffic around midnight. Pulled over, arrested on suspicion of a DUI. They impounded his car, right? So the very next day, he gets back out of jail, tries to break in the tow yard and get his car back out. Bam, arrested again for that. Gets back out. A week later, is arrested for attempted robbery. Okay, 4 days later, the mother of his child files a restraining order saying he threatened her. After that, his family refused to bail him out. He ended up spending about a month in prison, paid 10% of his bond, and was able to get out. Over the next few months, he missed like 3 court dates, but he kept getting pardons because his lawyer was telling the judge that he was still getting mental treatment, which, like, I don't see any proof that he was, but I mean, if the judge accepted that, then okay, cool. It appears that he was trying his hand at getting some help once again. Maybe they couldn't help him. I don't know, man. That was in 2013, bro. Now, Titus has been out. He's been back and forth. Mental institutions, getting in a little trouble here, a little trouble there. But he's still out, moving around. And it seems to me, and like, I'm sure to everybody, that he needed some serious mental help. But either they just couldn't help him when he went in these facilities, or maybe he didn't give it enough time, which is probably the case, because he just kept walking out. And it seemed like the more he refused treatment or got like partial treatment, it seemed like it just kept spiraling, bro, and spiraling and spiraling. One day, out the blue, Titus just showed up at his high school football coach's crib. So the coach got him some food and attempted to have a conversation with him. And the coach was just like, man, because Titus was sitting up there talking about how he was going to ball out this year for the Rams. And his coach was like, bro, the Rams cut you, son. You don't play in the NFL no more. Titus didn't remember. So from that point, his coach started testing his memory, bro. And Titus didn't remember winning MVP as a senior when he was in high school. He didn't remember childhood friends. He didn't remember his college roommate. And he told his coach that somebody at one of the facilities that he had been in said he had a spot on his brain. Of course, his coach called back to that one game where he was headhunting in high school, and he just really feels like Titus may have some type of head trauma that caused these issues. And we talked about that with Trey Mason, and of course, it is not outside the realm of possibility. It seems a little more unlikely in this case, only because like Titus always was like, you know what I'm saying, kind of wayward. Although it did get progressively worse, you gotta look at money was introduced, a little bit of fame. It seems like a gradual build to me of something that was probably already there. But again, I don't know. I'm sure it didn't help though. I'm sure it did not help all of the head trauma that he undoubtedly took playing football. And his coach said after Titus left, he broke down crying, bro. Like he couldn't stand to see him like that. You know what I'm saying? He was a shell of himself. He barely had any memories of the good things about him. And he tried to get him help, man. Titus' family tried to get him help, man, but he really wasn't cooperating with them. And every time he did, things didn't progress quickly, and then Titus would lose patience with it and he was out of there. Unfortunately, earlier this year, Titus was sentenced to 4 years in prison from a fight he got in 2016. Now check it out. He was in an inpatient mental institution. You feel me? Trying to work through, I guess. Busts out the institution and gets into it with one of his neighbors, gets into a fight, and now he got 4 years in prison for that. Like, this is one of those stories that just really doesn't have a happy ending. To me, I'm like, why isn't he going to, and maybe he is, but the way I read it, it seemed like he's just going to prison. Like, they're going to just throw him in a cage instead of getting him the help that he needs. Because if they just put him in a cage, he undoubtedly just going to get worse over these 4 years, man. And get out and he's gonna be right back in. Like, why not force him to do his time in a mental institution and have him, you know, do his 4 years there, and then he can be working toward getting better if he can get better. But I think it's pretty much zero chance that he's gonna get better from this just in prison. I don't know, man. It's a sad story. I'm gonna just end the video.